you actually need to work on you first, because I hear this all the time. People say, I really want to invest in what you do, Emily. I want to invest in, regulating my nervous system. That's just like a nice to have. It'd be nice if I felt less stressed. But I actually think that it is the number one thing you should be focused on, because strategy without capacity is a dead end road. Today, I am pulling back the curtain, and we're doing a really fun episode where I'm going to dive into some questions that were submitted on an Instagram story where I said, you can ask me anything. And so it's going to be a kind of a mixed bag, but let's dive in. Welcome back to the Be That Girl Coaching YouTube channel. This episode is going to be fun. So let's just pick a random question off of this list. Let's start with something light and easy. Somebody asked me, what is my favorite app? And I feel like this is like not that fun, but I don't know if I have a favorite app. I love TikTok, actually. That's my favorite social media app to consume. I feel like it's light. I feel like the content I look at over there is funny. It makes me laugh. It kind of takes my brain out of everyday, I like to follow travel accounts that talk about traveling. I love to follow like things that are happening in pop culture, like Dancing with the Stars, or like the recent like Alex Earl versus Alex Cooper feud. And I like to see what people are saying about it. I love that I don't really consume content of anyone that I know on TikTok. It's all like strangers or celebrities or influencers, and it just feels fun over there. So I love to consume TikTok, but probably that the most used app on a daily basis is actually my Hearth app. I use Hearth. I think that's how you say it. Hearth. My husband always says Hearth, but I think it's Hearth. It's Earth with an H in front. So I think it's Hearth. But it's like a scheduling app. So some people use Skylight. I use Hearth. It is like our master schedule calendar for our family. So my assistant, Sam, has it set up on my phone, but basically she has it set up where my Google Calendar gets added to it. So anything that comes in through my Google, my email for work or from my personal Gmail gets pulled in. So if I get like podcast interviews scheduled or sales calls on there, or discovery calls, or any work meetings, like all of that gets put on there from my Google Calendar. It also brings in my iCalendar. So from my phone. So if I'm making a hair appointment, I just quickly add it to my iCal. That gets pulled into Hearth. My husband can upload, there's some AI technology with the Hearth app. So he can like send in my 10-year-old's baseball schedule to Hearth, and they will upload all the baseball games, all the practices on there. The other cool thing is that it's all color coded. So like my husband has a color, I have a color, my work has a color. So I have two different colors, work versus personal. Each of my kids have their own color. So all of our weekly activities are on there, all of our weekly meetings, and it's like work and personal, it's all merged. So I live in the Hearth app every day. I'm like, look at my calendar. I'm like, what do I have today? And it's all there color coded so I can just see the order of the day. I love having it whenever I'm trying to schedule things in the future, because I can quickly, flip to a future date and see what day can I schedule this call? What day do I have open? So that's probably my most used app. But favorite app, if I just to pick a favorite, I guess TikTok. It's like the most fun for me right now. So that's one question. Let's do another one. Okay, new follower, and I am inspired. Thank you. She says, is there a nervous system coach certification that you got, or just a life coach? So yes, I am certified in neurosomatics. I'm also certified as a life coach. But I think the answer that I'm going to give is not going to directly answer this question. I actually don't think you need certifications to be good at your job. I think that real life experience is actually what gives you the credibility and authority. So I have coached thousands of women over the years. I'm coaching women every single day. I feel like the more that I've coached and gotten in the arena of coaching, the better I've gotten at it. It wasn't from a certification. It wasn't from, learning from somebody in a certification. I think some certifications I've done have been better than others, but I feel like where I've gotten the best and the most valuable as a coach has been me actually coaching and somebody asking me a question that I maybe don't know the answer to, or that I don't know how to coach them the best, and then me going and finding the answer later to get better at coaching someone the next time they ask me that question. I have learned so much from listening to podcasts from experts, hiring experts, paying experts to coach me. Getting coached through my own nervous system, my own mindset has helped me become a better coach, because I've had my own limiting beliefs that I've come up against, my own nervous system capacity issues that I've had to overcome. And as I have overcome those, I've become better at helping other people overcome. I think it's Ed Milet who says you are most qualified to coach the person that you used to be. And so when I think about the person I used to be and those nervous system hurdles I had to overcome and those mindset struggles I had to overcome and those beliefs that I had to push through, I'm now coaching people through those because I've already overcome them. And so that's actually how I think I've become really good at being a coach, is through real life experiences. It's through reading books. It's through getting myself in the arena of actually coaching someone. I actually think that thinking you need one more certification, one more degree, one more thing to add to your belt to make you more like legitimate is actually a coping mechanism from actually just getting out there and doing it and being willing to mess up and being willing to not be perfect. That's how you actually get better. So, okay, next question. How to overcome fear of being too busy after implementing ads and skills that you've learned. Ooh, this is so good. Fear of being busy is a coping mechanism, or being busy is a coping mechanism. I think it is so great to have so much strategy. It is so great to learn marketing from experts and messaging from experts and ads from experts and sales skills and operations and all these things. But if you do not have capacity to then execute and implement them, then you will never actually benefit from all the strategy, you know? So it's not about overcoming fear of being too busy is literally why I have a business. It's why I teach people how to regulate their nervous system and to expand their capacity. Because I actually had somebody on my challenge recently come up. She unmuted herself. So I had a guest speaker talking on the call who is a dear friend of mine who has her own program. And one of the guests that was on my challenge is in her program. She was like, I actually literally am in your program. Like, I have your course and I don't even know when I bought it months ago. And she's like, I haven't even opened it to learn it and implement it because I'm too overwhelmed. And I actually don't have the capacity to learn what you teach and to go execute it in my business. And what this guest expert speaker that was on my call teaches is amazing. It's made my business exponentially grow. And strategy is nothing if you do not have the capacity to execute and implement it. So fear of being too busy is just a cop-out. Like, yes, we are all busy. We all have so much going on, but we have to learn how to hold more. And that's what I teach women how to do. Regulate your nervous system. Feel discomfort. I think that sometimes we bite off more than we can chew, and we're handling so many different things that we're actually not executing on the things that we learned. I even saw this in my own business whenever I first started learning how to sell better. You know, I learned it. They told me all these skills. They said, go do this and you will have this result. And I actually knew exactly what I needed to go do, but I didn't have the capacity to do it because I was scared of being seen. I was scared of being viewed as salesy. I was scared of looking cringy. I was scared of being rejected, being told no. And so because I didn't have capacity to fully execute on the sales training that I was being taught, it held back my business, right? Until I learned to have an expanded nervous system to be able to hold more rejection, to be able to hold more visibility, to be able to hold the potential for failure. That's whenever I was actually able to capitalize the most on selling and learning and using those skills that I had learned. And I see that in tons of businesses again and again. So if you are investing in strategy for your business, I think that's amazing. But you actually need to work on you first, because I hear this all the time. People say, I really want to invest in what you do, Emily. I want to invest in, regulating my nervous system. That's just like a nice to have. It'd be nice if I felt less stressed. But I actually think that it is the number one thing you should be focused on, because strategy without capacity is a dead end road. You're not going to get anywhere in your business if you do not have capacity to use your strategy. And that's exactly what she's happening. She's like, I'm trying to implement ads. I'm trying to implement skills I've learned, but I'm too busy. You're not too busy. You're just sabotaging yourself because it feels scary to go out there and implement those things. So really good question. Thanks for submitting that one. Let's see what else we have. How do you financially invest? Are people using their husband as a safety net? This is really good. We actually talked about this recently on a call that I was on. And actually, the girl brought her husband on because he was like in the car with her. And she's like, I'm so blessed and thankful that I have my husband. He's kind of, she said, I think my seed, like he's like my seed for investing and starting her own business because she had been in corporate for so many years and had this like set, level of income. And she was going off on her own. And she's like, I want to invest in all these programs and build my business. But what happens? How are people? She wanted to know literally, tangibly, how are you people investing in things? Because, whenever you don't have any income, when you're first starting your business, that can feel really scary. So I'll tell you what I shared on the call and what the other speaker on the call shared. And I'm not telling you that you need to go get in a ton of debt. I'm not telling you that you should go make all these irresponsible, risky decisions. What I am telling you is that I think that some of the most wealthy, most successful people that I know leverage debt in order to build success on the back of it. And that's actually what I've done. So I didn't have like $25,000 to invest in a program the first time that I, invested a bigger sum of money. I took out a small business loan, literally called the bank, said, how does this work? I think I need to get a small business loan. I called like my Chase Bank branch because that's who I had my business card through. My business checking was set up through that. I had a business credit card at the time through that. And I was like, you can see all my bank statements. You see how much money my business is bringing in. And I took out a small business loan. And at the time, my business was not making crazy amounts of revenue. Okay. So there's one thing. Another thing I've done is I believe I did like an Amex business line of credit. So I literally went online. I searched like business lines of credit and I found an Amex one and I just applied it for it. I can't remember if they do like a hard credit check on it or not, but I did an Amex line of credit. I applied for it online. I got approved, and it's different than a normal loan because you take out the line of credit and you do it for a set number of months. So like 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. I think it depends on the number that you're doing it, but I think I got approved for like up to $28,000 and it's there. And I actually love having that as a safety net in case I need to use it for cash flow purposes. But I just applied online. I think I had to put in, I don't even know if I had to put my social security number. I can't remember, but I put in what my business revenue was and they approved me for a certain amount. And I've used that only once for investing in a program with an in-person event, like a retreat that I went on. And I think it was like $11,000 that I wanted it for because I didn't have that up front and I wanted to pay in full because paying in full got me a discount. And so I invested in that and I think I paid it off in 6 months or less. And the Amex line of credit was actually a like set fee each month. So even if you pay it off early, you're still paying the full 6 months. So it's a little different than like a loan and how you get charged interest based on how long you use it or how long you're paying on it. So I've done that. I've also just done payment plans. So I invested in a program that was $125,000 and they gave an 8-month payment plan option. And that was real painful, but it was like $14,000 a month out of my cash flow. But I've done that before. So lots of different things. The other speaker that was on the call when someone asked, the first big investment she ever did was $50,000. And she said she called Chase Bank and got 2 credit cards and put part of it on one and part of it on the other and was like, that feels real risky, like, right, to just do it straight on a credit cards because typically credit cards have high interest, but she had a plan in motion. She knew that the revenue she was looking for was going to be coming in. And so she paid it off pretty quickly. So, I mean, that's a way. But yeah, there's going to be risk. But whenever you take risk, a lot of times there is ultimately a big reward on the other end. And I just think this all comes down to like what your belief is about debt. I've had so many people come through my challenge and want to invest in my programs, but they're like, I really pride myself on the fact that I've built my business in a place right now where I have zero debt. And honestly, right now I have zero debt in my business, but there have been periods of time where I did have some debt and I was able to leverage that. And I truly believe that leveraging it in those coaching programs and in learning those skills, that added an asset in here in my brain, and my brain is more valuable now because I did that. And it's ultimately led me to grow my business revenue exponentially over the last few years. So that's what I'll say. As far as using your husband as a safety net, sure, you don't want to be like crazy reckless. One of the questions that I always look at is like, what is the worst case scenario if I invest in this and it doesn't pan out and it doesn't help me increase my revenue and I can't, foot the bill or I can't, float the payment. I think a lot of times our nervous systems tell us this is a life or death choice. like I'm going to lose my house if this doesn't work out. But like, let's look at it in black and white to see, are you actually going to lose your house if you can't make this payment? Because in many cases, the answer is no. And so I look at, like, I know my numbers, and this is what's really important because so many women are too scared to know their numbers. They are scared to even log into their bank accounts to know what their expenses are and what their revenue is on a monthly basis. I have such a thumb on my profit margin. I have what I would consider like a certain level of like business acumen when it comes to money and finances, where my cash flow is at, where my profit and loss statement looks like, what that looks like. And I think that's really empowering to know those numbers because it can help you make really data informed decisions. And so knowing that is really, really key. Also knowing your personal finances. So I know what I need to pay my family on a monthly basis so that we can live our lifestyle that we live. And I don't just like give us extra money every month based on if my business has a better month. And I think that a lot of people don't do that. They don't pay themselves a set amount every month. So I get a salary from my business because we're taxed as an S Corp. So as the CEO and founder, I pay myself a salary. And then I take a draw on top of that. And it's a set amount every single month based on what our expenses are. No matter if I have a crazy high month or not, I'm not just taking extra just because, unless it's going to something specific that we have, determined as a goal ahead of time. And knowing that is really helpful because when you know what your expenses are on a monthly basis, you know how much you need to pay your family in order to, let that be its own thing and let that work. Then you can make data informed decisions of like, is this investment going to work out? Like, do I have enough revenue in my business on a monthly basis to cover this monthly extra expense if it's a payment plan or if it's a monthly loan payment? So knowing your numbers is really, really important, and being able to play out what truly is the worst case scenario, not what my nervous system tells me, because my nervous system tells me that we're going to lose our house and we're going to end up living in a shoebox if I make this investment. That's usually not true. And so knowing the worst case scenario, knowing what that looks like, and being like, okay, like if that were to happen, would we be okay? Is this risk worth it? Because with risk can come really big reward. So that's how the cookie crumbles, in my opinion, when it comes to investing. And it's paid off for me pretty much every single time. And I think that's also the mindset of the type of person I am. When I invest in something, I always know that it's going to work out. I don't put a lot of weight. Actually, my friend Ashley Brock, when we were on this call the other day, she said, I like to make sure that both sides of the coin have equal airtime. It is natural in our Homo sapien survival mechanism instincts to only think about all the negative, to be like, what is the worst case scenario? Oh, I am going to lose my house. This is going to be the worst decision ever. I'm not going to get what I want out of it. Are you giving the opposite equal airtime? Are you thinking about all the ways it will work out? Are you thinking about how it could be the best thing ever that you do for your business? Because it isn't natural. It is not natural as a human to think about that way. You have to intentionally put your mind there. And that is really important, but it's actually not an automatic thought for you to have. So are you giving the opposite, the best case scenario, equal airtime? Because I really believe that because I have the mindset of, I know that this is going to be worth it, this investment's going to be worth it, no matter what happens on the other side, even if the coach isn't my favorite person, I know that this is worth it. I'm getting out of it everything I need to get out of it, and just trusting that. And that always means that it's going to happen that way for me. Okay, next question. How do you know when to delegate more on the life side or the work side? I love this. I was actually just talking to my creative director about this because she's kind of in a place where she needs to delegate a little more on the life side. 3 small children, husband works full time, she's working full time, and her kids are young, and life can feel like a lot, right? Work can feel like a lot. But I really believe that when it comes to delegating, whether it's on the business side or the life side, it always feels harder than it is because of our beliefs. It is always comes back to your limiting beliefs that if you can't do it all, if you can't keep up with the dishes and the laundry and the kids and all the school stuff that's happening and your full-time business, somehow that makes you a less than type of woman. It makes you not worthy. It makes you not valuable enough. You make it mean something about you as a mom, as a wife, as a woman, when you can't do everything. And because you believe that, you will sabotage yourself and not hire the help because you're like, I should be able to do it all. And I just believe that it doesn't matter who makes your kids lunch as long as they feel safe when they get to school because their lunchbox is full of food, right? Like, that's what really matters. It's like, we don't want them to get to school and realize that they don't like what's being served in the cafeteria and mom forgot to make their lunch, because that's the thing that's going to impact their nervous system. It doesn't matter, though, if a babysitter is making it or if you're the one making it. If it can save you time and mental energy by having somebody else help you with household things, that's what's creating safety for your kids and their nervous systems, not the fact that you're the one doing it. I mean, we work with a chef on a weekly basis to help meal prep dinners for us during the week and lunches for me and my husband, because I don't think it matters who's cooking our meals. I think it matters that my kids are getting nourishing meals and we're not, getting to 6 o'clock every night and being like, oh, we have no food to cook at our house. And our kids are like, Mom, what's for dinner? And we're like, oh, I guess frozen chicken nuggets again. Not that that's bad. Hey, we like a frozen chicken nugget here and there. But it doesn't matter that I have a chef that's making it. And you're not outsourcing that, even if you financially could, because you're like, what is this going to make people think about me? They're going to think she can't do it. Oh, who does she think she is? She has a chef, right? That's why you're not doing it. It's a limiting belief. I have a full-time assistant that works for me that does so many things for me in my life. And it doesn't matter that she is texting me the night before that it's Aloha Day the next day for Amelia, and she needs to make sure she wears a lei to school because it's like these 50 days of dress-up days before the end of the school year, right? It just matters that Amelia doesn't show up to school without the lei because mom forgot. It doesn't matter that she's the one finding the lei or ordering it on Amazon Prime so that she can make sure she has what she needs for Aloha Day. It just matters that she feels safe to go and feel like she's prepared. Same thing in business. The way I like to think about it in business is when the wheels start falling off, like when the wheels start falling off and things are crumbling, that's when it's time to hire. So I recently hired a full-time assistant who does a lot of stuff in the business, executive assistant wise. And I knew it was time to hire her when Lana, my director of operations, started making mistakes. She wasn't making mistakes because she was not smart. She wasn't making mistakes because she was lazy. She was making mistakes because she had too much on her plate. And when she started making mistakes, which is not in her nature, I knew it was time to hire someone. I needed to offload some stuff on my plate. She needed to offload stuff on her plate. And that's kind of when I like to make that decision. Same thing with my creative director. Whenever we hired her, which she works pretty much a full-time load for my company, me and Lana were trying to fill the creative gap, and neither of us are creatives. And it just got to a point where I was like, why am I trying to make graphics? Why is Lana designing landing pages when that's not her zone of genius and it's not my zone of genius? And we weren't getting the results we wanted because they didn't look good and they weren't converting. And so I knew the wheels are kind of falling off. We need to hire someone. So that's kind of how I utilize that. But you really have to look at how you're programmed. Like, what do you think it means about you as a woman, as a mom, as a wife, as a leader, if you can't do something? I think surrounding yourself with people who are smarter than you, better than you at certain things is one of the best things you can do. Okay, let's see. Let's do one more. Okay, last one. What do you do for fun? I enjoy work so much, I don't make time for hobbies. So for me, this is such a good one because a huge part of my framework is spiritual health. And I believe a huge part of spiritual health is making time for fun. I think that so often as high performing women, we think that if it's not productive and not contributing to our bottom line of revenue, it's not worth our time. And so there was a time in my life where I would only read personal development books. I would only read leadership books because I did not believe that fiction books were doing anything for my business. And I was like, I only need to be doing things that are productive, that are needle moving and all that. What I didn't realize is that fun actually is one of the biggest needle moving things you can do. And so when somebody asked me for the first time years ago, what do you do for fun? And I really didn't have an answer because I was like, I don't think I do anything for fun. Or I would name things with my kids. Oh, I spend time with my kids. It's like, no. What do you do for you? I remember the question she asked me was, what did you do for fun when you were younger? And I was like, oh my gosh, I took ballet classes. I took dance classes. I read tons of fiction books. I was a big Nancy Drew girl growing up and read all the Harry Potter books, all that. And I was like, man, I haven't read a fiction book in a long time because I just feel like it's a waste of my time. But getting your brain outside of what's productive. So if you're trying to figure out like what to do for fun for you, ask yourself that question. What did I do for fun when I was younger? So there was a period of time where I would go take ballet classes. Actually, that's something that I really need to be getting back into. I would love to find like a hip hop class or something like a little bit more upbeat that I could get into in my area. And it's, again, the limiting belief that those things aren't helping you. They're not contributing to your bottom line. They are. Giving your brain space outside of thinking about work all the time. Immersing yourself in the world of a romance and, an Abby Jimenez book or something like that. Like, I love her books. I love Ellen Hilderbrand. I love Emily Henry. Getting into those books and letting my brain just be, I do that on the weekends. Like, I've started going to the library every 2 weeks and checking out a new book, sometimes 2 books. And I read on the weekends. I read at night before bed. And I think it's so important because it gets my brain out. It helps me change my perspective. It gives me a break. And I think that resting your brain, getting it out of work mode, going and doing something fun, take a dance class, take a painting class, take a pottery class, go on a bike ride. If you love to do outdoor things, do those things just for you, just for fun, without the purpose of being results driven. The cool side effect of that is that those things actually are very results driven. There's so much science behind spiritual health and fun being so results driven. So go do something fun. I promise it will contribute to the bottom line of your business and your life in more ways than one. So I hope y'all loved this episode. This was fun. Like, just ask me anything. So next time you see a question box on my Instagram story, make sure and submit your question and maybe we'll pop up and do one of these episodes again. Thanks for coming. See y'all next time.